What's up everyone, and thank you for stopping by the channel. Today's project is this recently bought used Honda lawnmower, and the problem is that it was working, but now it won't start. Let's take a good look at it, find out what's wrong with it, and hopefully we can fix it. In this video, we try and repair this mower. However, it may not be the exact repair you need to make to yours. We'll explore other options later in the video. So the history on this mower is that it was bought a couple of months ago from someone who serviced it just to sell. It wasn't used for the first part of the season, but when the primary mower went down, this one had to be used. Now it ran okay, but after a month or so, it started to run very poorly and finally it wouldn't start. Now that's the main problem with this mower, but there are several smaller issues that need to be addressed. However, I'm only going to show you the ones that keep this mower from starting. Now this mower came with gas in the tank, and that's a good place to look if your mower won't start. It might be stale or even have water in the gas, so we'll inspect it later on. Another possibility is a filter packed with dirt, grass, or wet with gasoline, but after looking at it, it looks to be just fine, so that's not the problem. One small problem has to do with the pull rope guide on the handle. It's turned in such a way that pulling the rope is difficult, so to fix it, I'll just turn it back into place and see if that makes it any easier to pull. Also, the recoil assembly isn't retracting the rope like it's supposed to, so I want to try and fix that as well. Now the brake cable works, but it's beginning to stick just a little bit, so I want to lubricate that so we don't have any problems later on. The next thing I want to look at is the recoil problem. After taking it off the engine and pulling on the rope, it looks like dirt is the reason why the recoil isn't working. Now to fix it, I'm going to clean it with brake cleaner, then lubricate it. The main part that needs to be cleaned and lubed is where the spring is located. There's an access opening where you can see the spring. Now I could take the recoil apart, remove the spring, clean and lube it, but I'll leave that for the last resort if this doesn't work. Now that the recoil problem is fixed, I think I can try starting it. This is an automatic choke, so all you have to do is make sure the fuel valve is on and pull it till it starts. Unfortunately, it didn't start, so what I want to do now is remove the air filter, spray some gas in the carburetor's throat, and then try starting it again. If it does run, I want to make sure the bowl is dry of gas, so I'll turn the fuel valve off. So it finally started and ran after physically putting gas into the carburetor, which points to a choke problem. If we take a closer look, you can see the choke flap. Now the engine did run for less than a minute, but you can see the choke flap should be closed, but unfortunately it's in the open position, which on a cold engine is not ideal to start it. That means we'll need to remove the carburetor and inspect the choke system for any problems. After taking the filter base off of the carburetor, I hate to say it, but someone forgot to reconnect the emissions hose. That means the crankcase might have been breathing in dirty air. This will shorten an engine's lifespan, and hopefully it wasn't used like this for a long time. So this is an isolator that also has part of the choke system on it. It interacts with a thermostat on the cylinder head and transfers its movement to the actual choke mechanism on the front part of the carburetor, both of which seem to be moving and working like it's supposed to. That means we need to look at the thermostat and see if it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. So here's the thermostat, and as the cylinder head gets hot, the needle in the middle is supposed to push out and bypass the choke system. Now the head is warm, but it's not hot, and as you can see, the needle is fully extended, so it's not retracting like it's supposed to when it's cold. I can push the needle back in so it's not stuck. Let's remove it and take a better look at it. So here it is, and there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it, but if you need to replace it, this is the part number. Honda actually calls it a thermal wax assembly, and it's about $10 to $15 online. Now, I want to reinstall it and see if it still works before I replace it. I'll do a test run without the air filter box and watch to see if it bypasses the choke. I'll then let it cool down later on and make sure that it allows the choke system to work. If it doesn't, then I'll order a new thermal wax assembly. As you just saw, it started just fine with the choke flap closed, and after speeding up the video, the thermal wax assembly bypassed the choke. I want to wait till the engine cools down and see if the choke closes like it's supposed to. Also, it didn't run very well, so while I'm here, I want to inspect the carburetor for any problems. So it's been about 30 minutes, and as you can see, the choke is closed now that the engine has cooled down, so it seems to be working just fine now. What I want to do is remove the carburetor and see if there's a reason why it's not running better. Now with the fuel line off, I'll take a sample of the gas and see if there's any problems with it. So the gas looks pretty good, and it has some color to it, so it could be about a month or so old. Also, I don't see any water at the bottom, so I'm pretty sure the gas isn't a problem. Remember what I said earlier about the gas being fine? Well, I guess I'll have to take that back. When I removed the bolt from the bowl, whatever fuel was in the bowl came out, and what I see isn't good. I can see a water bubble in the gas. That means that this gas had some water in it, and most of it had already made its way to the carburetor, and there wasn't any in the fuel tank. This usually happens when you pour the last bit of gas from your fuel container into your tank. It's interesting though that the engine was still running with some water in the bowl, but once it's used up, the engine should run much better. So here's the fuel jet, and as you can see, it's not blocked and in perfect condition. It's now time to put everything back together. So the reason why this was running just a bit off was because of the water that was in the bowl, which should be gone now. If possible, try and use 100% gas with no ethanol. If you can't find some in your area, you can always use additives that will keep the ethanol from destroying your carburetor. Also, if there's any dirt or water in your gas, it will usually stay at the bottom of your gas container. So when you get to the last half gallon in your container, be very cautious. Now, if you want to use that last bit of gas, try pouring it into a container so you can inspect it first, and if it's okay, then pour it into your equipment. When I checked the oil earlier, it was really dirty, so after I get this mower working like it's supposed to, I'll do an oil change. Now, I suggest at least one oil change every season, and more if you're using your mower a lot. Also, it's a good idea to replace your air filter at the same time, and if you don't want to do that, at least shake the filter out. Another reason why your mower might not be starting is that the carburetor could be leaking fuel and flooding your engine. If that's the case, this spark plug would be covered in gas only after a few pulls of the rope. If this happens, remove the spark plug and pull the rope several times to try and remove whatever gas is still in the engine, then replace the carburetor and the spark plug and try starting it. So it starts and runs like it's supposed to now, and after the oil change, it'll be ready to keep mowing for the rest of the season. So my question is, do you pour the last bit of gas out of your container into your equipment? Personally, I do, and the reason is because I get gas from the same station which has 100% gas, and I've never had a problem with it. Now, if I did ever experience any problems with it, then I would probably avoid using the last bit of gas in the tank. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask any questions, and I hope to see you in my next video.